You're listening to Real Estate Radio San Antonio with Carlin Stan, and we're sitting here with Robert Tuan of SanAntonioHomefinders.com. And Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan.
You know, today we want to talk about buying investment property, residential investment property.
Right.
This is something that we get a lot of calls at our office about how to finance that. We actually have a lot of people that ask us, what's involved in it, what should I purchase, and of course we have to send them to the expert. And I know you're an expert on that home finding on that investment property, but
yes,
you actually have a passion for people to succeed with that, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today with you. Is as you said, I'll have you explain it, but it's not just buying a piece of investment property, but it's a piece of investment property that will increase in value.
Correct.
And that's so important. So go ahead and let's talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about a lot of things here: neighborhoods, property taxes, schools, crimes, jobs. All of these things are involved, and it's more than just saying, hey, I can get X amount of dollars back.
Yeah. Some people, they always look for, well, first of all, you have to have it in your gut to want to invest and go forward. And there's a couple of levels. The first level, it's a little hard because you don't understand it, and maybe that's all you want is one or two. But once you get involved after the first few, it gets to be so easy, and that's where most millionaires are made. 70% of the millionaires in the United States are made through real estate or some type of real estate. With investment properties, you look for quality more so than price. I get so many people, well, we want the cheapest, we want this, we want that. They don't look at if you buy quality real estate historically, and that's all I can say is historically, it appreciates faster.
Now, let's stop there just a moment. Let's talk about what is quality real estate.
Well, real estate is location, location, location.
Uh-huh.
And right now, out towards Alamo Ranch and past that whole area is just booming. Mm-hmm. So you look for certain qualities in that location. It's hard just to do this on a radio program, but you do need an expert that has been doing this to sit down with you on each track or property, because then I could compare the two and say, this one I like better than this. But, if you're driving, so to speak, if you want to buy that one instead of this one, that's okay. We all have opinions. Historically, I got some pretty good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, you have to have that gut feeling, first of all, and just review it. Doesn't mean everything will happen down the road, but with that momentum that's going on in certain areas, it's just everything's at risk, but the fact of it is you got some great opportunities there.
As someone thinks about purchasing a piece of property to rent, so often a lot of people become renters because they move from one house to another and they rent the house they're in. I did that in the past, and I rented the house that I had left. I kept that house, and it was in very good shape. And unfortunately, it's kind of the nightmares that we hear. I kind of had to go in there with shovels after a couple of renters had left, and so it was very disheartening to me because I had emotional ties to that house, right, and someone just didn't take care of it like I did.
Right.
And so, those are things that I guess it's almost like a counseling session when someone purchases a home. I would think that you would have to prepare them emotionally, because when you own a piece of property, you have that emotion tied to it, but yet it's almost a it's
from your perspective of living there and then renting, it is different than going out and purchasing as a rental. But I understand what you're saying. I don't do rentals. I'm not in property management. That is a tough job, and certain people do it really well, and certain people don't. And if you try to do it on your own, it's down to that too. Some people are good at it and some aren't. That's a whole new show in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But let's leave that off to the side, because that's something that we really have no control over.
Right.
I'll get you a good property manager that you
can
interview.
Handle that.
But for investments, I think down the road, I want to explain a few things. I have a few friends that by accident got into owning a lot of property, and their philosophy is, I'm going to keep them and hand them down to my children. Or maybe they'll take one or two of them, sell them, and go buy two more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give you this one, for instance. Right now he owns 35 rentals. And you go, wow. I already see you wanting to go, wow.
Yeah.
The fact of it is he had a philosophy. The first thing was I think he had two daughters, and he started out buying a house for a rental to rent to her when she went to college. And one of the things he did was, I just don't want to buy just a house. I want to buy something that will historically appreciate. So he went 12 miles away from the college and bought a property on the lake. He paid around $200,000 for it. Of course, she had roommates. They paid for the place for the 4 years she was there. He turned it into a full-fledged rental without her after she left. Today, that house is worth over $450,000, and it's bringing in a whole lot more rental money than before. But he collects a rental property a year. And that's pretty simple because it's certain incomes. And once you get going over the first 5 rental properties, man, it's pretty easy to buy one a year. So, you just got to get on a program that you feel comfortable with.
I had a friend of mine years ago say that his goal was to buy one piece of property every 5 years.
Wow.
For 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd have 6 pieces of property. At the end of the 30 years, it would be paid off on a 30-year mortgage. And for the next 30 years, he would sell one piece of property every 5 years to supplement his retirement. And I kind of put being a finance person, I put pencil to paper on that. And I go, what a very easy philosophy that could be very successful.
Yeah, you kind of get regimented. It's like a good habit or bad habit.
Yeah.
And there's a good habit. After you get going, it's right. Just let's go get another property.
Yeah. Well, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Real Estate Radio San Antonio. We can be reached at realestateradiosa.com, and we're here with Robert Tawan, a 30-year expert on the real estate industry. Now, Robert, as we go, what about neighborhoods and property taxes? Are those things that are really that important when you look for an investment property, or is it? Kind of tell me what you look for when and we talked about a quality piece of property,
right?
But I kind of want to break that down a little more. What?
Well, the first thing is, who's going to be your renter?
Mm-hmm.
I guess let's reverse engineer it. Who's moving into town that would want to rent from you close to their close to their workers, a good neighborhood that a lot of those people like to live in, because sometimes they're further away than from their office. But there seems to be a covey of quail, so to speak, that they like to live in that neighborhood. So we've got to identify that first.
So you want to see what market that you want to, I hate to say chase, that's almost like a retail type. Identify
and go after. You have companies such as Valero, and you have Rackspace, and we have a lot of nice-sized companies here that people are moving to come to. Mm-hmm. And you look for what areas of town they like to live in, and a portion of those will be renters, and that would be a nice target to strive for. We have the military, Randolph and Lackland, and there's a lot of officers on higher end homes that would prefer to rent, and that would be a nice target for it.
Now we've got also that Eagle Ford Shell that we talk about for the next 20 years plus.
Absolutely. So, you look at the neighborhoods that they kind of like to drift towards and reverse engineer it and go for that market.
Now, as I read the news and talk to other realtors and people in the industry.
You talk to other realtors?
Yeah.
I mean,
occasionally.
You put a knife in my heart.
But as we see them come through, the Eagle Ford Shell it's booming out there.
It is.
And the prices are going up. How do you feel about that area out there? I mean, a lot of them are buying the homes, but I see some almost inflated prices out there at this point. Do you?
I don't know about. You feel it's inflated. Let me explain to you a few things. One, we just got off a show that we just recorded about ranch land.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that always drives ranch land is oil, and that's why again the price of farms and ranches are going up. That's being driven in the same way with housing. You'd be surprised if you're at the I hate to say the lower end of the Eagleford Shale, you're going to get closer to the Eagleford Shale. But we have quite a few clients that are upper management. They live in the northwest side of San Antonio. That would surprise most people, that they drive an extra 20 miles.
Right.
But they have a higher income and have a different lifestyle that they go after, and we love to help them.
Mm-hmm. Huh. So you don't look so much for neighborhoods as far as property tax or crime or those things. You look for what is an area that you know that you can rent that home that has a demand for a renter, and you identify the type of people that you want to rent to at that point, correct? Am I saying this right?
Kind of and kind of not. Let me unwind some of that. We always look for good school districts. Mm-hmm. Whether you have children or don't have children, that kind of everybody wants to live in a good neighborhood, and that if you have really great school districts, people with children prefer that, and even people without. The taxes kind of follow along the way. That's it seems like outside of 1604 is the growth area. So that's...
So, and I know one of the things I look for in rental property would be appreciation.
Yes.
And I think, to me, that would be one of the biggest things, so that in 10 years, where would that property be? I'd rather it be worth 30% more than 5% more.
Right.
Or a negative, in hopefully never a case. But so does appreciation, is that one of the things that you look for in those areas?
Absolutely.
And you talked about outside of 1604.
Outside of 1604, you look because it's new. You don't have the repairs, maintenance as much as on an older house. But there's some great values in Alamo Heights and Terrell Hills and even other areas that aren't as known. But you look for quality back down to location, something that might be residential that might be turned into commercial down the road.
Okay, yeah. All right, well, I just want to say you're listening to Real Estate Radio San Antonio. We're here with Robert. We're going to have to wrap it up a little bit, take a little bit of a break here. So don't go away. Be right back, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.